is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
I think Brian Flores is going to get fired in the offseason. I think they're going to make coaching changes next offseason. I think they understand they've got to go get themselves now a veteran coach with veteran offensive coordinator, with a veteran offensive line coach to fix everything going on with the offense, because their defense is pretty close. Everything is, it's exploding in our faces. All the pieces have fallen into place of what's going on, and it's obvious. And I'm telling you that this is the direction that I truly feel the Miami Dolphins are going in, because Chris Greer, Reggie McKenzie, and Marvin Allen know they've been on other teams also. They know this thing can go awry quickly. And they can't. And it's not like they know each other, but it's not like Brian Flores and Chris Greer, I don't believe, are best friends or anything like that. They've known each other. Okay? I think these guys understand that if before this whole thing goes awry, they have to fire Brian Flores at the end of the season and get a new coach and go get an experienced coach. Go get, I could see a Jack Del Rio type that Reggie McKenzie knows. And Jack knows older coaches and experienced coaches and things like that. I can see, I'm not saying that Jack Del Rio will get hired. I'm telling you, a coach in that, something like that is going to get hired. And then what they'll do is they'll get a modern day type younger offensive coordinator, highly touted one maybe from college or something like that. And maybe that's what they'll do. And then they'll get a grizzled offensive line coach or something along those lines. But there's no doubt in my mind that the right thing for the Miami Dolphins to do at the end of the season is to fire Brian Flores and find a coach that can build a coaching staff. Find a coach that knows how to get along with human beings of all kinds and be able to work with human beings of all kinds and understand that he is not Bill Belichick. And you cannot act and live like Bill Belichick. To me, that's the problem with the Miami Dolphins. And the only change that needs to be made this offseason is at the head coaching position. I don't believe personnel is a problem. I believe a lot of you out there that have been whining and crying about personnel, I think you're wrong as hell. And slowly but surely, it's leaning my way now as we're watching players develop now. And the defensive players are developing. But there's a stickler that's going on, and it all has to do with the offensive line and the offensive coordinator and everything else that's tied to it. Everything else is mediocre. It's remedial. It's a high school offense, what we're watching. And it just does not fly at this level. And Brian Flores has proven for 3 straight years now that he cannot build an offense. And when you're given an offensive coordinator, you can't even keep him. Chan Gailey's offense, limitations and all, produced the most points since the Marino era. I think you'd want to keep somebody like that around. I think you would sit down with Chan and say, Chan, what do we need? What do you need? You did a marvelous job with very little. What more do you need? But the problem is that Brian Flores thinks he knows more about what you need than Chan Gailey. And that's what happened last year. And so you lose the best chance you had at a veteran offensive coordinator. And if you can't keep Chan Gailey happy, who's not the hardest guy to deal with, by the way, then how are you going to get another veteran offensive line coach, a veteran How are you ever going to get a veteran offensive line coach? And when are you going to get another veteran offensive coordinator? So next year, in order to avoid the old coach is coming back to save his job routine, and everything will be desperation, and you'll be fighting with the front office on who to keep and who to fire, because that's what you've been doing now the last couple of years, is being a complete pain in the ass for your front office, right? And costing them money and making them force them to do stuff. And I think this front office needs to hire a coach that doesn't really meddle that much in personnel. Once in a while, it comes in the office and says, "Hey guys, I need to go get a blocking tight end right now. Hey guys, I really need a backup left guard right now badly because right now I'm hurting." Once in a blue moon. But if you're going to be the guy that you also think you're the personnel guy, and that's the problem. I believe Brian Flores feels he doesn't need Reggie McKenzie and Marvin Allen or Chris Greer. And that's the problem. And those guys have proven to do their job. He has yet to prove that he can be an elite head coach at any level yet so far. In my eyes, things have developed right in front of us, and they're telling us what's going on. And I believe the organization knows that they screwed up with Brian Flores now at this point. I believe the organization knows they have to make a change at head coach. And next year, hopefully, they can bring in a staff that can really lead this offense in the right direction and get them, actually at a level that they need to be at. So there you go. That's my prediction. That's what I think is going to end up happening. That's what I clearly see right now going on with the Miami Dolphins. And the real problem with the Miami Dolphins is all on Brian Flores, not the players, not the personnel department, not the owner. They have to make a decision and say, "Hey, man, you know what? We're in the expansion years. We got the guy to lead us for a couple years in the expansion years. It's now time to get rid of that guy and bring in somebody that knows what the hell they're doing and can take it to the next level and has experience at this." It's the same thing. The same kind. Okay. All right. Okay. Renee Latchman, it was nice to start off. Let's go get Jim Leland. Okay. All right. I hate to say it this way. I'm going to have to. Ron Rothstein, you've done a terrific job. We think Kevin Lockery is the next guy, whether right or wrong, and it was wrong, whatever, but that's what they thought, and that's how they kind of carried it. In a way, you got to kind of do the same thing. The first example was much better but then again, Dave Dombrowski, Cunningham Scheffel, there's a huge difference there. You know what I'm saying? Dombrowski on his worst day is 100 times better than Cunningham and Scheffel would ever be as personnel people, but that's a whole different ballgame. But you got to treat this like an expansion team. You got the coach that can take you through the first couple of terrible years. It is time now to go find a real staff that can take this team to the next level because there's talent on this team. Somebody can play on that line. A couple of those guys can play on that line. You're not, it's a bunch of crap. Because if they can hit on a bunch of the defensive players, they can hit on these offensive players eventually. So for me, it's all coaching on the offensive side. This is why Waddle plays in a 3-yard box. This is why they sometimes forget to use Gesicki, and then they want to use him, and then they don't use him when you got to use him all the damn time. This is a clown offense led by a head coach that doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and he's got the attitude that he thinks he knows more than everybody else. So if the Dolphins want to move forward, and if Chris Greer and Marvin Allen and Reggie McKenzie want to save their asses, they need to fire this guy at the end of the year. Because if you continue with Flo, he will take down everybody. He will ruin relationships. He will ruin your talent. He is already ruining your quarterback. So go find somebody that knows how to handle all of these situations, because it's obvious. And I think it's obvious to Stephen Ross. I think it's obvious to Dan Marino. I think it's obvious to Chris Greer. I think it's obvious to everybody in the front office. They just don't tell us. I think it's obvious to players. They just don't tell us. They know the problem is Flo. They know that Flo is in over his head. I believe in the offseason, they will crap can his ass, and they will find a new coach, and they will get a coach that can actually build a coaching staff. That's my prediction. You heard it right here. You'll see. Mark this down. Save it all you want, Sean. At the end of the year, when they fire that guy and they go look for a new coach, you'll see what it is, because it's pretty obvious what's developed.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.